The flickering streetlights cast long, dancing shadows as Thomas trudged home. His apartment building loomed, a silhouette against the midnight sky. He shivered, an unexpected chill running down his spine. The air felt heavy, burdened with unseen eyes. Unlocking the door, he stepped inside, desperate for the familiar comfort of his apartment. The musty air hung thick and stagnant. He flicked on the light switch, banishing the darkness from the cramped hallway. He hated coming home late. The silence, usually comforting, felt oppressive, pregnant with unseen terrors. His footsteps echoed in the stillness as he moved through the apartment, checking locks, drawing curtains. He finally reached his bathroom, a small utilitarian space dominated by a large antique mirror. The silver backing was worn, etched with age, giving the reflection a hazy, ethereal quality. He splashed water on his face, trying to wash away the lingering unease. As he glanced up, his breath caught in his throat. His reflection stared back, a grotesque mockery of himself. The reflection's lips were curled into a wide, unsettling grin, a stark contrast to the fear etched on Thomas's own face. His heart pounded against his ribs. He blinked, sure it was a trick of the light, but the smile remained, fixed and unwavering. Thomas recoiled from the mirror, his pulse quickening. He stumbled back, tripping over the edge of the rug. Had his reflection always held that sinister glee? He cautiously approached the mirror again, his hand trembling as he reached out to touch the cold glass surface. The smile didn't waver. It seemed to widen, becoming almost predatory. A cold dread settled in the pit of Thomas's stomach. He knew, with chilling certainty, that something was deeply, terribly wrong. His reflection wasn't mimicking him. It was mocking him. He tried to rationalize it. Sleep deprivation, stress, a trick of the light. But the logical explanations rang hollow against the primal fear gripping his heart. He avoided looking in the mirror, afraid of what he might see. But the image, seared into his mind, haunted his every waking moment. The smiling reflection became a constant in his life. He covered the mirror with a sheet, but it didn't help. He could still feel its presence, a malevolent entity, trapped just beyond the veil of the physical world. His apartment, once a sanctuary, now felt like a prison, suffocating him with its unseen menace. Sleep offered no escape. He was plagued by nightmares, vivid and terrifying. The smiling reflection haunted his dreams, its laughter echoing through the corridors of his subconscious. He woke up in a cold sweat, heart pounding, the feeling of dread clinging to him like a shroud. The whispers started subtly at first, faint murmurs, barely audible in the dead of night. He dismissed them as the creaking of an old building, the city sounds filtering in through his window. But the whispers grew louder, more insistent, morphing into hushed words he couldn't quite decipher. He tried to ignore them, but they followed him everywhere. In the hiss of the shower, the hum of the refrigerator, the creak of the floorboards beneath his feet. They taunted him, mocked him, promised something sinister lurking just beyond his perception. He was losing his grip on reality, teetering on the precipice of madness. One night, he woke to a voice clear as day, whispering directly in his ear. It was his name, uttered in a low, guttural voice that sent shivers down his spine. He bolted upright in bed, his eyes wide with terror, scanning the darkness for the source of the voice. The room was empty, but he could feel a presence, cold and malevolent, watching him from the shadows. He stumbled out of bed, drawn to the bathroom by an unseen force. He stood before the covered mirror, his hand hovering over the sheet. The whispers intensified, urging him to look, to see. He knew it was a trap, but he was powerless to resist. With trembling fingers, he ripped the sheet away from the mirror. A gasp escaped his lips, a strangled cry lost in the suffocating silence of his apartment. The reflection was gone. In its place stood a figure cloaked in shadows, its edges blurring into the tarnished silver of the mirror. Two crimson eyes pierced the darkness, burning into his soul. He tried to scream, but no sound escaped his lips. He wanted to run, to escape the suffocating terror that held him captive, but his feet were rooted to the spot. The figure in the mirror reached out, its hand passing effortlessly through the glass. Tendrils of darkness snaked out, wrapping around Thomas's throat, cutting off his air, his voice. He clawed at the shadows, a silent plea for mercy, but it was no use. His vision blurred, the edges of his world fading to black. The next morning, the apartment stood silent, bathed in the pale light of dawn. Dust motes danced in the air, disturbed only by the faint hum of the refrigerator. The bathroom door hung open, revealing a chilling scene. The mirror, once covered, now stood bare, reflecting nothing but the empty room. Trapped within its depths, a pair of terrified eyes stared out, a silent prisoner in a glass cage. The reflection was alone.